WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys, and today I have Fettercairn. Have you ever had Fettercairn? Well, I've been experimenting recently with different expressions, and ta-da, look, I have the 16-year-old Fettercairn Highland Single Malt Scotch Whisky. We have 46.4%. We have whiskey base number 158694, and we are talking about 70 euros at the moment over here in Germany. Now, the question is, where did this bottle come from? During my research here by Fettercairn, I was told, even though they produce 3.2 up to 3.2 liters of alcohol per year, which is a lot, by the way. Waterford in Ireland, one of the distilleries I'm at the moment very closely following, they produce about 1 million liters of alcohol a year. So this is triple the amount. And yet, Fettercairn is absolutely under the radar. Hardly anyone has heard anything about them. Now, one of the reasons is it belongs to one of those conglomerates. I'm going to use my nice little whiskey yearbook here. It belongs to White & Mackay. We know them from Dalmore. We know them from Jura. And it actually belongs to the Emperador. I think that's in Thailand or Indonesia, where they actually have. 1842 is when they were founded, and they have a 12-year-old, and they had up until recently a 28-year-old and a 40-year-old and a 50-year-old. That was the core range. And then suddenly this 16-year-old appeared out of nowhere. Now, if you look at scotchwhisky.com, you will see that, and right before they closed down the site, or they stopped updating the site, that there was actually a press release that there would be a brand new Fettercairn 16-year-old for travel retail exclusive. Now, according to my information, Corona kind of killed travel retail. And so I think they took the travel retail and put it into, at least here, the German market at the moment. All right, what can I compare it to? Now, you're going to laugh, but I'm going to compare it to Bushmills. Bushmills, 16 years old. Why? Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, they're both 16 years old. Number two, they're both around 70 euros over here in Europe. Number three, they both have a finish of port and sherry, which is very unusual. This is triple distilled, this is double distilled. And another unique defining factor here is this was actually distilled with chocolate malted barley and matured in finest oak casks. So this is 46.4, this is only 40%. Now, what is chocolate barley or chocolate malted barley? Now, when we have barley, you grow in the field and you harvest it, and you want to malt it. Malt happens when you actually add moisture and heat, and you're trying to kind of trick the barley into thinking that it's spring. When it's spring, you take those starches and you turn them into a type of sugar, and that sugar helps that nice little plant start to grow, and you actually stop the process in the moment where the barley starts to sprout, and you add heat. And you can add a lot of heat. What happens if you're on the island of Islay is actually you take peat and you heat that up, and the smoke actually smokes the barley, and therefore that continues on into the whiskey. So what you can do here, though, is you can actually heat up the barley and you can roast it like you do your coffee beans. Chocolate. So the brown turns into the beige colors turns into a dark brown. Brown, chocolate, malted barley. And that is a unique type of thing, but it can offer us some mocha, some cappuccino, some type of coffee taste or notes to this. So it's very interesting. Also, what is very interesting is the combination here of our port and sherry finishes. Either we have port or we have sherry. Very seldom do we have both together. Now, I actually tried to replicate this actually, and I took some port, I took some sherry, and tried to mix them in different ratios. Didn't get anywhere near what this tastes like. That's the way it is. I love this whiskey. Let's talk about this whiskey. Fettercairn 16-year-old. Question of the day, have you had any Fettercairn? If so, write down which ones you've had. I'm sure someone's going to write down something about FIOR. Now in the nose, I get more of a peachy type of peary type of orange zest. Take the orange peel, the orange zest of that. Very, very interesting. And I swear I recognize this note somewhere. I'm going to taste it. I'm going to tell you exactly where I've had it before. 1 second, please. Hmm. Hmm. First of all, I really like this. Second of all, I've had some whiskeys from Lidl. Lidl has a house brand called Ben Bracken. I've had the 25, I've had the 30, I've had the 40-year-old from Ben Bracken. And the first time I tasted this, and again the second time I tasted it, is like, oh, this is Ben Bracken. Which, for me, would kind of make sense. Fettercairn basically has a range between 12 and nothing all the way up to 23. And then once again, 30 and the 40. They're making 3 million liters plus a year of alcohol. Where did all that alcohol go to? Of course, the blends. And now I also think they actually laid down some casks. I'm talking about hundreds, if not thousands of casks. And they actually have now sold them to major discounters here in Europe. Aldi and Lidl, in particular Lidl. And they have been actually just marketing that and selling that as their supermarket brand, Ben Bracken, because it tastes exactly the same. Which is not bad, but it actually solves the mystery. Many, many people have gone, oh, this is a Highland whiskey from Ben Bracken. Which one is it? And I've heard zero people mention Fettercairn. And I'm going to throw Fettercairn in there, and I think this is going to make sense now if you compare this to something from Ben Bracken. All right, going over to my Bushmills 16. Now, before I do this, I need to complement my description once more. When you taste it, you have the orange zest. You have a nice woodiness. And towards the end, it turns into a little bit of a sawdusty, estrogens, a little bit dry moment. So it goes, oh, nice, well, okay. Now this, and that's what I want to talk about now, does this. Oh, yeah. The finish here is really that port cherry mix at the end is just, for me, one of the magical moments of whiskey that I've enjoyed for the last half a decade. Sounds better than 4.5, 5 years, doesn't it? Half a decade. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm. I just love that aftertaste there. All right. Fettercairn 16-year-old. Is it worthwhile to buy? Yes. The age shows the 16 years is actually well-rounded. There's no sharpness, there's no pepper, there's no alcohol bite, which I expect from a 16-year-old plus whiskey. Is there a little bit of a dankness, a little bit of a dunnage warehouse moment? Yes. It's a little bit like a dark, wet basement. Tiny little bit is in there. There's a lot of orange room freshener on top of that, but it's there. There's a caramel there. If I read the tasting notes, it says here, nose, vanilla, and ginger with sun-kissed raisins. Well, sun-kissed. Taste, succulent. Oh, well. Peach, okay. Ginger, caramel gives way to banana with chocolate and demerara, which is brown sugar, developing a perfect finish. Now, I'm not sure about the word perfect, but it's a really good finish, by the way. As it goes down a little bit, but still, it's fairly nice. What I don't get is the chocolate malt. In the back, and the way in the back, there's a little bit here of a chocolate mocha moment, but it's not really up front. I've had other whiskeys with an enormous amount of chocolate malt in there, and it's just, it's like distilled espresso. Not my cup of tea. Now, what I didn't do in my German video, which I want to do with you now, is actually dilute it down. I think I'm going to stop now. I'm trying to hit the 20% mark. Sometimes I can really recognize certain things much better when there's less alcohol in there. Many master blenders and master tasters do this as well, so it's not something unique to me. This is something I really enjoy to do. I know there's actually a lot of cask strength, barrel proof experts out there, but I often have the feeling that a nice Scotch, you can water it down, you can get the nuances, those little tiny moments that you miss otherwise in a much better fashion here. Ben Bracken. Great sweetness, an evenness. I'm almost going to go perfect finish. That's good. I'm going to give this a B, a solid B. Value for money, I'm going to give it a C, actually. 70 euros for a 16-year-old age statement. Glenfarclas has something like that, but other than that, I don't know many whiskeys out there at the moment that are at around that price range. So there's a 15-year-old Glengarry out there that you can get on sale for 70 euros. Otherwise, things are getting somewhat expensive out there in the world of single malt Scotch whiskey at the moment. So this is actually a very strong buy. If you can find Fettercairn, 1, it's exotic, 2, it's rare, 3, it tastes good. Go for it. All right, thank you very much for watching. My question of the day was, have you tried anything from Fettercairn? Anything from Fettercairn, just write down what you've had. I'm sure the one other person will going to write down F-I-O-R. If you don't know it, just type in Fettercairn Fior, and you know what it is then. And second of all, if you don't know anything about Fettercairn, please write down your favorite 16-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. Would be interesting to hear. All the best, WhiskyJason here. Please like, please subscribe, please tell others about this crazy guy in Europe tasting things you might not ever see. So sorry. Bye-bye.